What up, my fellow dorks? It is the Turtle Dork.
No, it's not.
It's not?
Just kidding.
Oh, maybe I said the wrong name. Did I say Disco?
You said Turtle Dork.
Oh, I am the Turtle Dork, and we are here with another recap and review for Game of Thrones Season 3, Episode 5. I wrote it down. Kissed by Fire, directed by Alex Graves. I am the Turtle Dork. This is the Disco Dork. Let's go ahead and get into this. So we start this episode off with trial by combat. So we left off from the last episode when we got introduced to Beric, and they were going to do a trial by combat between Beric and the Hound. So we have the trial by combat. So we have this fight between Beric and the Hound, and like you were mentioning on the last video, is the fact that Beric is part of the Lord. He serves the Lord of Light the same way Melisandre serves the Lord of Light. No, not that's I said that wrong. Not in the same way that he served that. Not in the same way that she serves.
They serve the same.
They serve the same God, but they have different motives, different intentions, and different ways of how they serve the same God. And so we see this fight between Beric and the Hound, and we have Arya who watches on, and of course she's rooting for Beric because she wants the Hound to die for the death of the butcher's boy, and the fact him being there when her father died as well. So what did you think of that fight between Beric and the Hound?
I had forgotten about a bunch of shit from this show. I had forgotten that this conflict took place. An interesting development though is that the Hound wins the match. By putting his sword through Beric's left shoulder, which I kind of disappointed in the Hound because Beric wasn't even that armored up.
Yeah.
And as we seen like at the Battle of Blackwater, he was bisecting motherfuckers like it was nothing. So he should have cut my man like all the way down the middle. But anyway, like the guy, what's the other brother? Baron,
Thoros.
Thoros starts reciting some magic words, I guess, and Beric comes back to life like immediately. And I remarked, I was like, damn, like he came back quicker than Jon Snow. But I had totally forgotten about that. I think I remarked in the last episode, in the last video that we did, that I do remember Beric having something to do with some supernatural element later on in the series. I had forgotten that it was established like this early on. It's in another scene where he's describing like how many times that he's been brought back, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I have that.
Okay, we won't jump to that. But I another interesting thing about this fight is that before, like when it starts, Beric he lights his sword ablaze, and that puts him at a tactical advantage against the Hound because of the Hound's
his fear against fire.
His fear of fire, right? Yeah. And just that whole where that fight took place was around the campfire, and outside of Beric's sword, fire still featured prominently in that fight as they were the Hound was tripping over it. His shield caught on fire, so he had a bunch of distractions.
And you could see how
because
it was
of that,
affecting
and it was affecting him. And it just this a guy that I was just joking that in the previous battle he was just cutting people in half, but also in that previous battle, him seeing the flames was what caused him to retreat. So, just it's a very interesting element. It's one of my favorite character traits about the Hound, as far as from a character building or writing standpoint, is that they gave him this Achilles heel, and it's used to such great and dramatic effect, like multiple times throughout the series. So, and this is just another instance where we get to see that, because prior to this happening, like he's talking shit, like he's the biggest dude in the room. He's not scared of any man or human being, but this natural element is something that can bring the Hound to a halt, screeching halt.
And I like the fact that when he defeats Beric, Arya is saying like kill him, and Beric is saying this like, look, the Lord of Light has spoken, but he will have his day, and just seeing Arya in that moment as well, wanting that vengeance for the butcher's boy and her father.
When he said that, he said that he said he'll have his day in the light or in the fire or something like that.
Yeah.
When he said that, and I remarked to you to while we were watching it that it was that phrase that he said that made me think where
his story could go,
right,
how it's going to go.
So I speculate all the time about how the show is going to end, who's going to end up on the throne, what what character's going to do what. But hearing that phrase, trying to fast forward ahead and predict, the Hound's ending on the show or where he will be at the end of the story, like I'm drawing a blank. Like I don't know, because on the one hand we still have the matter of him in his confrontation with his brother. I'm assuming that's going to happen.
I feel like that needs to happen.
There's still loose ends in regards to his story with it relates to Arya. Mm-hmm. But then that phrase about him having his day and the lighter and the fire, like what does that mean? Like, and so I don't know. Like there's so many different things that are left unresolved as of right now for the Hound that have to get wrapped up by the end of the series, and with any one of those threads, like any one of them could be like his end, like whether it be he could meet his end, or his story could end with his confrontation with his brother. It could end with Arya, or this prophecy, and so I'm very curious. We're always talking about who's going to end up on the throne, which, that's the ultimate, that's the big, that's the big finale thing. That's the big question we need to have answered. But, for me, this is one of the biggest mysteries to me. Yeah,
it is, because the Hound has become a character that has become a fan favorite. And a lot of people want to see how that is going to conclude. And we saw a little bit of that in the 7th season. But, of course, he's going to be in the 8th season and seeing a lot of those different reunions. Let's jump a little bit to Jon and Ygritte. They finally have sex.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So they finally consummate their attraction to each other, and so I like this scene because before it begins, he's talking to Orell and Tormund, and they're kind of questioning him about like which castles on the wall are guarded and how many men are there, and basically. Because they vouch for Jon Snow, Ygritte is like, look, he's not a crow. He's one of us.
Yeah.
And so they have that little conversation between the three of them. So Ygritte is, he basically tells her, like, look, I don't need you to protect me.
But she's like, yeah, you do.
Yeah. So they kind of have this little banter back and forth, but, she's got this attraction to Jon Snow, and they go into, like, one of these little taverns, or not taverns, but, like, a little cave area, and...
hot springs.
The hot springs. And it gets pretty hot between Ygritte and Jon. And, of course, Jon's a virgin, and so he's a little taken aback, And I was wondering too, when she took her cloak off, is that all she? Because I was like, that is not going to keep you warm out there in that snow. Like, come on, man, y'all got to be layered up.
I don't know, but them animal hides, man. The Eskimos and people like that, they wear those things and it keeps them warm. So
I don't know.
But they're wilding, so they're acclimated to that. So maybe they're good with just being naked up under like a one layer.
That shit make me cold just looking at it.
Yeah,
I don't need to layer up, but yeah, this was a nice scene between Jon and Ygritte. I kind of like that. Any points you want to make about Jon and Ygritte?
She obviously Jon has never been with laid with a woman before, but like Podrick, appararly with prior experience, he's knocking shit out the park, because she's like, yo, that thing you did with your mouth, like, what?
Where'd you learn that? They do that in the South?
That's how they get down in the South? Okay. So I just thought that was funny. Like when I was watching it, like for her reaction, I couldn't help but draw comparisons to the previous episode
I know, with Podrick.
When Podrick was
it's always the unassuming ones, man.
Yeah, man. Stop sleeping on him, man.
Let's get to Jaime. So Jaime's brought to Roose Bolton. So Locke, Noah Taylor, Tomb Raider dude.
Damn.
They bring him back to Roose Bolton, and so he wants to get him all, well, he says, look, you're safe here. Did he apologize for what his men did to cutting off his hand?
I don't know if he necessarily apologized, but he seemed apologetic about it. And because Locke was like, let's send this. I'm going to send this to King's Landing. And Bolton was like, get that shit out of here.
Yeah.
Because that's not a wise move, and he immediately frees Brienne of Tarth. He's has them release her, and he apologizes. He definitely apologizes to her.
Yeah. Absolutely. And he kind of, it was, I don't know, it was a little bit of a dick move the way he was explaining what happened at King's Landing. He was like, your sister. He was like, and then like Jamie was like, what happened? And then he just kept pausing. He was like, she's alive and well.
Well, he was like, I don't know how to put this. And I'm thinking like, because I'm thinking like, I mean, is he about to lie to him? But then he's like, she's alive and well. Well, you asshole. This dude ain't got no hand. You see, he still got horse shit on his face, mud. Like he's down. He's at his lowest point.
Exactly.
Kick him in the nuts.
Come on, man.
I see how you rolling. But them Boltons, man.
Well, yeah, we gonna learn about them Boltons.
They crazy, man. They don't care. But I do. Again, I mean, even with that character,
Roose Bolton?
Yeah, even with Roose Bolton, there's a complexity to him because he's apologetic to Brienne of Tarth. He's in war times there are certain customs, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's certain things that you, even though you're at war, you just don't do out of respect. Yeah. Of the rules and stuff like that. That's why there are things as like war crimes. There's a certain point, and it goes kind of back to what I was saying in the previous episode about your military force having to maintain a sense of integrity. Yeah, and as however you may view Roose Bolton, that's his name.
Yeah, Roose
Bolton. Yeah. However you may view him, or whatever side you may be on with him, or whatever side he may be on, in this moment, he's still being respectful of the captive.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean that's something you have to admire and respect, at least on that front. Let's talk about this a little bit. Tyrion and Lady Olenna meet. About the royal wedding between Joffrey and Marjorie, and so because we know that Tyrion is the master of coin, so he's trying to figure out a way to make this wedding as inexpensive, or just try to control the budget as much as possible. Yeah, and the big thing I kind of take away from this is something that Lady Olenna said, where she's like, you have to give the people they're hungry for food, but they're also hungry for distractions, and you have to give them some type of distraction. If not, then they're going to rise up and try to rebel against the highborn and everybody there. So it's like, look, I understand that you're trying to control the budget of this wedding, but we got to give these people something to distract them. And I like when we get to the end of this scene and she explains that, it makes a lot of sense. What she's saying, especially from the stuff that we've seen from the common people of King's Landing, especially with the scene at Flea Bottom when they got attacked, when Joffrey got attacked. You could see how these people are feeling. So you want to give them something to distract them from that. And I like how Lady Olenna kind of shaped that and phrased that.
This is one of the only times, and she's one of the few people in the show who have sat opposite Tyrion and damn near out talked and out logicked him. She wasn't she wasn't bullshit, and she wasn't like spinning any truth or whatever. She wasn't talking slick. She was, everything she was saying was facts.
Absolutely.
And for Tyrion to be humbled by that, that just speaks volumes about her character. And again, the writing of the show and what she says and how she says it, and the importance of it, it just makes for, that's the great thing about this show, is like we only get a sprinkling of like action or violence and stuff like that here and there, but the rest of it is just talking.
And but it's so compelling.
It's always compelling. It's always fascinating. And this is just another scene with two of the best and most compelling and fascinating characters on the show.
Absolutely. I love this scene between Arya and Gendry when Gendry decides that he wants to stay behind with the Brotherhood without banners, because he explains to Arya how he's always served throughout his whole life, and Arya explains like, look, you're still here to serve Beric, because he wants to stay on as a smith for the Brotherhood Without Banners. But I love that exchange between Arya and Gendry, because you can see how deep their relationship is at this point, especially with everything that they've gone through being at Harrenhal. Well, actually, from leaving King's Landing together, going through everything at Harrenhal, and getting to this point now with them being with the Brotherhood Without Banners. And I just thought it was just a really, really nice scene between the two of them. And you could see the affection that Arya has for Gendry, because, you know, when Gendry says, it's like, you know, I've never had a family. And she looks back and she was like, you know, I could be your family. And then when he just says, like, you know, you wouldn't be my family, you would be my lady. And I loved all that stuff between the two of them. And it just kind of punctuate everything that we've experienced with those characters up until this point.
And it's also kind of, in my opinion, I take it as being not just this moment here, but even with Hot Pie in the last episode, it's kind of symbolic and indicative of the isolation that Arya will come to have to live with because of the particular path that she's chosen. Like because she's on a path to revenge, it's going to be a lonely path for her. She's going to lose friends. She's going to have to get to the point where she's not even going to be able to make connections anymore because of the life that she's choosing to lead. And so, you know, this scene kind of just reiterates that a little bit. Yeah,
so I really enjoyed that. All right, let's get to Rickard Karstark. In the last episode, we talked about how it opened up with Robb Stark really laying it to his uncle Edmure about them overtaking, and they took two of the Lannisters' nephews as hostage. And they're young boys, like 14, 15 years old. So they have them down captive in like a dungeon area in a cell somewhere. And so this scene here kind of opens up. We see the two boys in the dungeon. I think they may have been asleep. I can't remember exactly. But basically, the door barges open, and we see Rickard Karstark. They kills one of the guards that was guarding the door. And then they basically kill the two kids. And of course, we know that Rickard has been wanting vengeance because of what Jaime did to his boy when Jaime killed his son. And it's kind of been building since last season that Rickard has always been about revenge. I want vengeance for my boy. He blames Catelyn. And ultimately now at this point, he blames Robb because he doesn't feel like Robb is being a great king of the North. So before we get to the other stuff with Rickard Karstark, that scene where he kills the two Lannister boys.
I had totally forgotten. About that happens. That's pretty shocking. But you know it. Karstark, man, he should have watched that episode where Varys was trying to teach Tyrion about like just being patient. You'll get your revenge, man. He could have had homeboy in the crate, but
true that.
People have been. They're making bad choices based on emotions, man. Robb's retaliation or his punishment that he enacts upon him is based on his initial emotional reaction to it. We'll get to the aftermath later, but he has, once he's calmed down, it's like, oh shit, I fucked up. But in this moment, and it's the thing about the show, like like when we look at Catelyn and her releasing Jaime. Yeah, that was not the best. That was not the right decision. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you do understand her particular perspective and plight,
her point of view
in regards to that decision. Yeah. And then you also understand. At the very least, I understand Robb's positioning to a certain extent of why he feels he needs to enact this particular justice, and he makes his case, and you can kind of see his point of view, but also you do see the reality of it, and the reality of why that's not a good decision, right? And but because he is fueled by his emotions in this moment, he can't see that reality until after he calms down. But at that point, he has crossed you know, it's the point of no return for him. Like that decision is going to be. I don't even know if that's the final nail in the coffin, because he's been fucking up big time. Like from him marrying Talisa.
Okay, you talking about Rob?
Rob, yeah.
Okay.
Rob marrying Talisa, to him deciding to, you know, cut the Karstark's head off and lose half of his army, especially at such a pivotal point in the war campaign. Like this, like he needs these people.
Yeah, he needs men.
I think you remarked, like he's already down.
He's down because
1,000 soldiers.
Yeah, so let's get into that, because that was actually my next bullet point. We could talk about that when he kills Ricard, because Talisa and Caitlin are talking to him about, look, and I think his uncle Edmure is saying, like, look, don't kill him, because once you kill him, his men will abandon you.
Yeah.
And you need, because he was already short men, and once you do this, then you're basically shorthanding yourself with this war against the Lannister. Basically, you're killing your battle. You're killing yourself now, because now you're about to lose half your men. So they're like, look, keep him hostage. Like, just keep him hostage and don't kill him. And just like you were saying, how Ricard couldn't control his emotions but wanted vengeance for his son, in this moment, Rob couldn't keep his emotions at this point. And I like how they film it when after he takes the sword, because Ricard says, look, you're no king of mine, and he chops his head off, and they do a close-up of his hand where he balls it up as a fist, and you can see him shaking. Rob, yeah, his hand. And just to show you that all these things are being fueled by their emotions, and you even mentioned that in while we were watching it. So I mean, it's an ill-advised decision by him to do this, not knowing the repercussions of what's going to happen to him, not playing the long game as far as the war with the Lannisters. Yeah. But in that moment, he just like, look, this is, you know, you got to pay the price for what you did.
And and what's crazy is that he is angry and has a you know, his relationship with his mother is sour, because he's angry with her for doing the same shit. Like she only did, you know, her decision was a negative decision, but she was going off of her heart and how she felt about her children. She was coming from a maternal place. Like I understand you're at war and all this other stuff and politics, blah, 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 but I miss my goddamn kids at the end of the day. So I'm going off of that emotion, and that's what's going to fuel this poor choice. Rob punishes her for it. And then the guy he just punished, the guy that kills the kids, the Karstark guy, he's going off of emotions. Revenge. I want revenge. I'm angry. I'm going to kill these kids. Rob punishes him for it. But that punishment being enacted is based on his emotions.
It's crazy. It goes back to something I thought about. Actually, I wanted to make like a little short film about this. It was like this thing about revenge and how revenge is a cycle. And that's what this feels like. It just feels like this is just a cycle that's just spinning. And every action that somebody does, whether they're enacting revenge or vengeance for someone else, is ultimately going to come back on them. And it's not helping anybody. So
let me ask you this: like, what does that mean for Arya?
Interesting. I don't know, because they haven't really brought up that theme with her character, with her storyline as of yet. That's
her host. That's why she's on that lonely path. She wants revenge.
Well, she wants revenge, but there hasn't been any consequences to her for that as of yet.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what does that mean? Like, if revenge is a cycle, and we have all these characters who are going through that cycle, and we're seeing it, and they're paying the price for it at different points. What does that mean for her?
Yeah, because she's on that path. I mean,
but for her, do we maybe get to a point where she decides to step off that path and not pursue that? So that she doesn't.
You know what? That could be something. If she confronts the Hound. If she confronts the Hound and the decisions she decides to make. If it comes to that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. That's interesting though, to see where her character goes with that. Because we see where she is now at this show, and to me it seems like she's still on that path.
Oh yeah, but from where we last left her, she's definitely on that path.
But going into season 8, that'll be interesting. Okay, all right. Put a pin in that one. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Put a button in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Rob kills Barrick. Oh, Barrick, Arya, and Thoros.
Yeah, that was a good conversation.
Yeah, when they were having that conversation about how many times he's been brought back to life. And the takeaway I took from that was, again, the end of that conversation when Arya was asking Thoros, it's like, can you bring back a headless man or a man that's been beheaded? And he's like, no, it doesn't work that way. And just to see her reaction to that, and I forget what she said to Barrick. It's like, because Barrick was saying how Ned Stark was a good man and how he's at rest, and she was saying like, I would give my life to bring him back, and she was saying something like, you're still alive, and I don't know. I mean, you can just see, because we don't really see a lot, at least from my knowledge, of Arya really mourning or grieving the loss of her father. We see it periodically, but just to see it in this moment right here was really, really effective for me. And of course, just hearing the backstory about Barrick and how many times he's been brought back to life. I just thought that was an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything you want to say about?
I don't know. But for me, it just kind of deepens the mystery surrounding the whole Lord of the Light shit, but also Barrick and the other guy,
Thoros,
because they definitely have an established history. Just looking at the scars on the body and them telling the stories about how many times he's brought this man back to life. So you save somebody's life one time, that deepens a bond or connection because of you going through that tragedy or that whatever that situation was with another person, and for that to have happened multiple times throughout the years, and how the mountain plays a part in that, because he was responsible for one of the deaths, and now how the Hound, he said he remarks like, I've been killed by 2 Cleganes. I've been killed twice by Clegane. Once by the Hound when in this particular battle, and then he took a spear to the chest by the mountain. It like I said, it just establishes and it deepens the mythology and the mystery of between these two characters, which will play out some more in season 7, if I can remember correctly.
So let's get to Stannis, and we could talk about all these 2 different scenes. We could talk about those together. So Stannis with Selyse, which I think is his wife, and then Stannis with Shireen, his daughter, who has grayscale, which I think this is the first time we see the grayscale in the show.
And the first time we see his daughter.
First time we see his daughter Shireen.
So last time we saw Stannis, he and the Red Woman were on the shores, and she was about to leave.
She was departing,
and he didn't want her to leave. He was like, "Yo, give me another son." And so she's like, "No, you're not strong. You're not strong enough. You're weak right now. You ain't got the juice. I'm gonna go hit up Podrick." And so that was the previous episode. So now when we catch up with Stannis, he's going to see his wife. He's returning home from war, and he wants to confess that he slept with the Red Woman. Unbeknownst to him, she was already telling all the business. Like, yo, she put her on to game. Like, yo, I've been sleeping with your husband. I've been doing all this other stuff. And his wife, she's so wrapped up into she's so wrapped up into the religious aspect, and she's a follower. She's a devoted follower of the Lord of the Light, so much so that she was with it. She didn't care. She felt like, you didn't commit a sin, because whatever action you do in the name of the Lord of the Light cannot be called a sin. So she was okay with it, and I just found that just to see how far-reaching the Red Woman has taken root into that family is fucked up and scary.
And then it's like, because she says something like, she couldn't give him a son, and then she goes into this other room where she still has, I guess it's like, maybe she gave birth to stillborn babies, and then she still has the bodies of them. And I just thought that was a little shocking when you see that reveal for that. But then Stannis and Shireen, his daughter, because she's locked away somewhere, and
because of the grayscale.
Because of the grayscale, and she hasn't seen her father in a while, and he wants to see her. And one of my biggest takeaways from this scene, and we're going to see a lot more of this moving forward, is the relationship that Shireen has with Davos, because she asks her father, Stannis, is Davos going to come and visit her? Because, he made her this boat, and he tells her that Davos is a traitor. And I don't know, like for me, this plays twofold, just to kind of first see the relationship that Shireen has with Davos, but then also to see how devoted Davos was to Stannis. And Stannis, Davos is not a traitor in any way, shape, or form. But the way the Red Woman has influenced and manipulated Stannis, and we talked about this, just that look he gives him when he comes back from being shipwrecked, it's like, wow, it's like, that's how you gonna treat your mans? And it's just like, and for him to tell his daughter, like, look, this man is a traitor, when he has been there for you in every step of the way. I don't know, man. It was just heartbreaking to see that.
You know what? I wasn't expecting this to happen, but it's hard for me to look. What's the daughter's name?
Shireen.
It's hard for me to even look at her now.
Knowing what's going to end up happening?
Yeah, when I was looking at her, I was like tearing up a little bit because for me, like now, that's like one of the roughest things on the show. Knowing what happens to her, and like she's, first of all, even if she wasn't sweet, she's a kid, right?
Yeah.
But like the actor that they have playing that character, and just how they have her written, the nature, the good nature that they have created and instilled in that particular character, knowing what's going to happen to her, I can't look at her. Like, it's hard for me to look at her. It hurts so bad because. That's why I say, like, I can't stand the Red Woman now. Like, seeing this, like, now, because she influenced Stannis to do that. Yeah. And me being a father, too. Yeah. Maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah, of course.
But, god damn, man. It's probably one of the roughest things on this show for me now. Like, I know the Red Wedding's coming and an unborn baby gets killed and all that shit. Yeah. But, like, we haven't gotten to that yet. We're here right now. Because we're here right now, this is like front and center in my thoughts, right? And god damn, man, it's so sad. It's so, and then they have the scene where she visits Stannis in the cell.
Davos.
I'm sorry, she visits Davos in the cell and she brings him a book and she's like, yo, my father said you were a traitor, but I don't care if he's lying or not or whatever. And she is, because you're my friend. Like, it's just heartbreaking, man. It's so fucking heartbreaking.
It's extremely heartbreaking, especially like I said, once you've seen the show and you know ultimately what's going to happen to Shireen, and the reasons why, and then even just the visions of that episode is kind of just seared into your brain, and then it's just. It probably is one of the most devastating things I think that has happened on this show, is what ends up happening to her. Yeah. And if you haven't seen it, we won't spoil it here, because you should definitely experience that. This is a big one. This episode is packed. This is what I'm saying. Alex Graves, I don't know who you are, but you're a hell of a director.
Yeah, he's got some of my favorite episodes so far, man. This is only like the second one.
Yeah. So Jaime and Brienne in the bath.
Oh, shit.
And talking about the Mad King. So this is when he finally confesses the truth about what happened, talking about the Mad King and how he was obsessed with wildfire.
How he came to be known as the Kingslayer.
And how he became to be known as the Kingslayer. So he tells the story about how and why he killed the Mad King. And it's not the story that everybody comes to know about Jaime, because of who the Mad King was, his obsession with wildfire, how he placed wildfire everywhere around King's Landing and just wanted to see everything and everyone burn. So when Robert Baratheon and Tywin Lannister came to rebel against him, because he was the hand of the king, the Mad King ordered Jaime to bring him his father's head. And so he throws that back, or he asks Brienne, he was like, look, if your precious Renly ordered you to bring back your father's, to kill your father and bring him his head, would you still keep that oath? And just the way this monologue is played, and the way that Jaime Lannister, I can't remember the actor, I know it's Nikolai, I can't remember the actor's name, but he does a phenomenal job in this moment. The way the camera stays on him, and just the way he does this whole monologue. this to me, I think, is a true turning point for that character of Jamie.
It's a turning point for both of those characters. Absolutely. As far as their relationship.
Absolutely,
as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Because Brienne even asks her, it's like, because when they come into the throne room, and he sees like he slit the Mad King's throat to finish the job off, and Ned Stark sees that. She was like, "Well, why didn't you say this then?" And he was like, "Look, they had already judged me when they saw me. They had already judged me at that point."
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a turning point, I think, for both characters, especially how Brienne sees Jamie now, and when he starts to faint and pass out. She says, "Help, help, the Kingslayer." And he's like, "My name is Jamie." And I was like, oh, this is such a fucking powerful scene.
Yeah, it is. I'm pretty sure we remarked about this in one of the previous episodes. Just the parallels between Jamie and ironically Ned Stark. Here's your noble Ned Stark and your Kingslayer Jamie. But the parallels between those two characters at what lengths they were willing to go to hold on to secrets that would have cleared
their names,
and just people's perceptions of them, and how they took that and said, regardless of what people think of me, I'm going to hold on to. I know the truth, and I'm going to live my truth, and. That's very. We talked about it earlier. Jamie, who's done some despicable things.
Yeah, he has.
But for him to be able to do something that something akin to what Ned Stark does, that speaks volumes about the complexities of that character.
Yeah, who he is and his character, as a person.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he's not an innocent man with some of the things that he's done. But he's definitely not the man that people have made him out to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought that was a really, really, especially watching.
He's more than his sins. Jamie Lannister is more than his sins.
Absolutely. Introduction to Grey Worm.
Yeah,
man. So we get the introduction of Grey Worm, and I love this scene because Dany is talking about who is going to who amongst you is going to lead. These soldiers, and I guess they turn and they face out, and Grey Worm is there. He comes forward, and I like what he says about their names, because Missandei explains that these are names that were given to them. I guess it was by Kraznys, the guy who owned them before, because he sees them as vermin, and then. Dany explains to the soldiers, like, look, you guys, you are free men, and you're free to choose your own name. And I like what Grey Worm says. It's like, look, when we were taken as slaves. This is, my birth name is my slave name. So when I was given the name Grey Worm, that was a name that was given to me in honor of me joining this army.
No, he said, he says he's not going to choose his birth name because the birth name is what he had. He was going by his birth name when he was taken as a slave.
He was taken as a slave.
But when he was freed by Daenerys, he was known as Grey Worm. So he wants to keep that as a memorial to that time in his life when he was freed.
Yeah, so that's respect to Dany for freeing him and him wanting to keep that name because she freed him. And I thought that was just a great moment and really establishes who that character of Grey Worm is, even now in the show.
Yeah.
I just thought that was just a great scene for him.
But also Dany's reaction to that, it kind of puts things into perspective. Not that maybe she didn't have perspective, but for me, it seemed like she had this realization of her place. Like, okay, he's right, I did this, but oh shit, I'm freeing people. I'm making an impact. Like I'm doing something important, and you can see that in her reaction to his proclamation that he was keeping that name in honor of her.
Exactly. Yeah. She gave a great reaction to that. A quick little scene I want to talk about with Rob. I got Rob strategizing because he looks at the map because he's showing Talisa because she doesn't know what Winterfell is on the map, and so
I think it's important to remark before you talk about that. This scene opens up with, "You were right, I was wrong."
Yeah. Which
in regards to his decision to execute Karstark.
Yeah, because at that point, Karstark's men have abandoned him.
They've abandoned, like they told him, like they told Robb they would. And so now he's having to try to figure out a way to still win this war with less soldiers.
Exactly. So he strategizes to take where the Lannisters aren't, and that is at Casterly Rock, where they are from. And so he needs to replace the men that he lost. Which, in his eyes, he has a bright idea, like a light bulb goes off. It's not a light bulb. That light bulb is full of blood. He's going to go to Walder Frey. Yeah. To try to get more men. Because he was promised to marry one of his daughters. So he says, I think I'm going to go to Walder Frey, the man that I swore to marry one of his daughters, but I end up not doing that. So let me go to this man and ask for his help. May not be the best idea.
Bad juju right there, Robb.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Bad juju, bro.
So we'll definitely want to see how that one plays out. Baelish, man. So with Loras. So Loras finds himself a new little boy toy.
All right, time out. When this happened, in the last video I remarked, I was like, yo, Marjorie, she's not a bad person, man. She's talking to Sansa, and she's Sansa's not getting the raw deal. Like she's gonna marry Joffrey, and then Sansa's gonna get her own kingdom and stuff like that. Yeah. I totally forgot this dude she was trying to marry off to Marjorie's brother. Don't even like women. Sansa don't know that. Sansa think, a cute dude. Okay, I'm gonna have my own kingdom, my own castle. High Garden. Okay, I'm good. Yeah, I forgot. And so now I'm rethinking. It's funny. It's funny, but it makes me rethink everything about Marjorie, because Marjorie knows.
She knows that
he's not into women. Yeah, and she has to know that. She also knows that Sansa isn't aware of that. She also knows that Sansa is excited at the prospect of marrying this guy and living happily ever after and having kids. And Marjorie knows that that's not going to happen. Yeah. And so now it's making me think differently about her, which is interesting. So
So Loras has a new boy toy, and come to find out, this boy toy is a spy for, of course, Peter Baelish. And so now the guy that Loras slept with is talking to Baelish, and he basically is telling Baelish everything about what the plans are as far as Loras marrying Sansa. Yeah. And so now that gets into, we're going to get into the last scene, but before we get there, anything you want to say about Baelish and how he's...
Well, because right after that, if I'm not mistaken, we have a scene with Baelish and Sansa, and Baelish is like, "Yo, I got a ship now, and I got some good news. I'm able to leave King's Landing, and I could take you with me." Yeah. And Sansa, because Marjorie's already proposed this union between her brother and Sansa, and Sansa's with it. So Sansa's like, I don't think that'd be such a good idea. Maybe I shouldn't leave like right now, because it's probably going to be too dangerous, and not just for me but for you. And I'd hate something to happen to you. Yeah. So I'm gonna chill right here. Yeah. Not knowing that Peter already knows about the proposed union between the two, and so Peter's like, okay, all right, of course you'll stay here. All right, I'll be back. But you can see in his face that he's fucked up about it, because it throws a monkey wrench in his plans. And so, and he has plans beyond. Here's the thing. Let me ask you this. So, I'm confused. I'm confused because sometimes I get this the icky vibe that Peter is into Sansa, but then other times I'm like, I think he's using her because ultimately he genuinely does want Caitlyn. And I can't remember, because I can't remember the rest of the season or the show. Yeah. I can't remember how Sansa would play into him getting with Caitlyn, or in his mind. So is he using Sansa to get to Caitlyn, or is he like, yo, if I can't have her, at least I'll have her daughter? Yeah. Type shit. Like,
I think that's what it comes down to. when we get into some of the later seasons. But I think now, maybe for me, I think Peter Baelish, everything is a power play. He like he said before, and what Varys was saying to Lady Olenna in the last episode, is like, Peter is trying to establish himself. He wants to be king of the North, or at least have some type of power, and he knows his way in is through Sansa. Now, of course, it's through Catelyn, but at this point, because Catelyn is still here with us, but after this season, and what we learn, what happens to Catelyn, then I think, now he turns his attention to Sansa. But
so do you even think he really cares about Catelyn, or he just wants to get with her in order to get some royal?
I think now at this point, I think he does have feelings, because he keeps referring that he's known her since he was a boy. And I think he does have some affection, but he's still like this snake. He's still conniving. So it's always, I think, is going to be in service of him to some degree.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to Catelyn, he does have some sort of affinity or some sort of affection towards her.
Yeah.
But once she's gone and everything's out the window, I think he loves her daughters. It's even hard to say that, but it's just, I don't know, man. But everything just seems like he's just doing stuff. It's self-service to him.
Yeah.
To see what he can get, to see how he can gain more wealth, more power. And build his own legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he's using Sansa for that. Let's go ahead and get into this final scene with the meeting between Tywin and his kids.
Oh, damn.
Tywin, Tyrion, and Cersei. So Tyrion comes in. Cersei and Tywin are already in there, and so Cersei lets Tywin
She's
know.
Got the Cheshire Cat grin on her face too.
Yeah, so they want to have a meeting about the Tyrells, because they feel like the Tyrells are plotting against them when ultimately they helped them defeat the Baratheons, and so Tywin's a little pissed off that, look, if the Tyrells are going to go behind our back after they helped us, and we're having this union to tie our families together, and they want to go behind our backs to try to get some type of to try to become king of the North, or because of Loras marrying Sansa, then we need to find Sansa a new husband. And so Tywin basically orders or tells Tyrion, you wanted a wife. These, for what you did at the Battle of Blackwater, I will say that I will reward you. Sansa is a good enough reward. You'll marry her, so that we can keep this union together and stop the Tyrells from any type of planning or whatever they're trying to do behind our backs. And I do remember this in the show, that Tyrion was supposed to marry Sansa, and I knew that Loras was supposed to marry Cersei. But I love how Cersei has this smug look on her face when Tywin tells her that. Then he looks to Cersei and is like, and you're going to marry Loras.
She's like, wait, what?
She's like, well, hold on, wait, what was that again? And, I love how Tywin is just like throwing these orders back and forth. But it's interesting because I was watching one of the interviews with Benioff and Weiss, and they were talking about Lady Stark and how Lady Stark, she has love for her family. There's a lot of legacy with the Stark name, but really she cares and loves her immediate family. She's worried about Rickard and Bran, Arya, Sansa, Robb, and all of her kids. But you juxtapose that with somebody like Tywin, who really shows no actual love to his kids. He cares and loves more about the legacy of the Lannister name. Yeah. And they were saying that that's the difference between these two families, where Tywin wants to protect and uphold the name, but when it comes to Catelyn, she can care less about the name. She loves her kids. Yeah. And you could see that, especially with Tywin in this scene.
And you can almost say that about Cersei.
Well, Cersei loves her kids.
But more than the name, just like Caitlyn.
Oh yeah, like that. You're right. Absolutely. Yeah. But Tywin is he just has a different makeup. Like, he literally shows no love or emotions or affection towards his kids at all.
His outfits be the best on the show too. Him shit's always look clean. Like
oh, Charles Dance.
Yeah, man. He always has like the black, like the black modern, not modern look, but his shit always clean though. Like I don't know.
Dude, and that one shot in the Godzilla trailer, because I didn't even know he was in there, and he's like, "Long live the king." I was like, "Fucking Tywin."
Yeah.
I was like, fucking crossover, Godzilla and fucking King's Landing.
Yeah, dragons. Okay.
But what you think of this final scene?
I mean, it further reiterates that point that you just made and that we were talking about in the last episode.
Yeah.
Or when we were talking about that episode when he was basically denying Tyrion his just rewards.
Yeah.
And that, he's disappointed in how his children have been upholding the legacy of the Lannister name.
Yeah.
He is not oblivious to the rumors of Jaime and Cersei.
Yeah.
He is not satisfied with the way that Cersei has not been able to keep a leash, so to speak, on Joffrey.
Yeah.
Control him. He definitely doesn't like the way Tyrion would grow up to live his life, and outside of, and that's on top of the fact that he has a disdain for Tyrion and blames him for the death of
their mother.
Yeah. So he doesn't have an affinity for his kids, and I'm not even sure has he spoken? Have we heard him speak about or gotten a hint of what he thinks about Jaime?
Not so much. There was a scene with Cersei and Tywin where she's asking Tywin, like, she's like, look, what's going on with Jaime? Like when he's writing the letter, he was like, look, he's my firstborn son. He was like, if I did this for Tyrion,
he said I started a war for Tyrion.
Yeah, it's like, what do you think that I'm doing? I'm doing everything I can for Jaime.
Yeah.
But that's all he said. Now, when Jaime comes back to King's Landing, I don't know how he's going to be received by his father. We did get a scene with Tywin and Jaime, the introduction of Tywin. When they're out in the camp and he's like skinning that deer.
Yeah.
So we've had interactions between the two of them, but post everything that has happened.
Do you get
war,
a sense that he views Jaime as a larger disappointment as Tyrion and Cersei?
That's hard to say. I don't know. If out of his 3 kids, if he did, I think Jaime will probably be the one that he's probably
favoring the most.
Yeah. I would think. That's just the way that Charles Dance just plays that character.
Yeah.
The character of Tywin comes off as somebody that he would favor probably Jaime the most, because Jaime seems like the person that would carry on the Lannister name in the way that he would see fit from his father and his father before him.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that's this jam-packed episode. Which when I was taking notes, I was looking at this shit. I was like, God damn, this page. I don't know if you can see it. It's long as shit, man. Like, Alex Graves, you're a great director, but come on, man. Like, lighten the load a little bit, just a little bit.
Nah, man, I dig it.
I dig it too. Anyway, those are our thoughts for episode 5. Kissed by Fire, directed by Alex Graves. Let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Remember to rate, like, subscribe, and share. And go ahead and check out our other dorks. That's so hard to say. Check out our other dorks. Check out the other dorks. At Mouth Dork, at WB Dash, at Sidewalk Siren. I'm the Turtle Dork. This motherfucker is the Disco Dork. And with that, we're out.